John Carpenter has been one of my favourite filmmakers since I was 4 years old. His eclectic mix of action, horror, and politics, along with his striking visual style, have made such films as Halloween, The Thing, Escape from New York, Big Trouble in Little China, The Fog, and In the Mouth of Madness into cult classics. On this episode, we delve into his career and discuss his legacy on not just the horror genre, but on filmmaking in general. My co-hosts tonight are the CEO of the Hollow 9 Network, Dave the Klone Maresca, from the Ranting and Raving podcast, Steve Sandwich Hanisch, and the author of the Dead series, T.W. Brown. So sit back, but don't get too relaxed, as you never quite know what lurks behind the darkness or beyond the fog.
Inland, away from the beach.
You receive full pardon for every criminal action you've committed in the United States. It was an accident. About an hour ago, a small jet went down inside New York City. The president was on board.
President of what? You're okay. This one, real fucking ugly.
Abandon all hope, all that enter Terror Firma.
But and now we're not.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday celebrated with that big fall. That's not the way to go.
There, I wore the hat. We'll celebrate the fall later.
Yeah.
So, I think I was able to get back up,
Yeah.
That's the important part.
That's what I kept telling myself over and over. That's kind of what I'm telling myself right now, because, man, 52, the body just doesn't heal like it did when I was in my 20s.
My body doesn't heal like it did when I was in my 20s, and I'm 35.
Yeah,
my
we're
body
all
never healed, so...
Yeah, we're like, what are you all talking about? I've just been in pain my entire life.
I tore my ACL when I was like 19. It's been all downhill from there.
They call me Mr. Glass because I break like glass. Coming soon, Glass. Unbreakable 3.
So, we're doing a John Carpenter special. Presuming we've all seen John Carpenter movies.
One or two.
A couple.
Yeah.
We're going to talk only about Big Trouble in Little China, though, right? Isn't that the plan?
Pretty much that, and They Live.
Oh my God, I keep forgetting about They Live. Like when I sit here and think, what have I seen? And I'm like, all right, Big Trouble, In the Mouth of Madness, Halloween, and like never does They Live hit the list until Drew goes, and They Live. I'm like, God damn it. So good. They Live is fucking awesome.
Also apparently scheduled for a remake in 2019.
Any names attached to that yet, or?
Not that I've seen so far. There's been so many people attached to that since, 2003 when they tried to do it. First time around, I think in 2003, there was talk of Vin Diesel being in it. And you're like, okay.
It's an interesting time for Vin Diesel.
Groot.
Wasn't that only like really Saving Private Ryan had kind of been out at that point?
But 2003, he already had the first Fast and the Furious by, I think that was 01.
Well, he must have. Yeah, he must have, because they've had like 40 of those movies been out, haven't they?
Yeah.
And now thanks to Industrial Light and Magic, there'll be 100 of every movie. It's just gonna be the computer animated
They'll
series.
all have Paul Walker in them.
No, wow. Damn.
Oh, it's not like it's not like he could get interviewed on the show anyway.
Sure. I wasn't thinking
I could
about
offend
it.
him.
I wasn't thinking about it in those terms, but yeah, good call. Holy shit.
That's the baseline for Drew.
I'm going like, wow, we already are. We've hit the bottom, guys.
They're not coming on the show. Fuck them.
Dark places, you have arrived. Oh my God.
That is the tagline for this show, basically.
We're happy to make it true.
So, What was the first John Carpenter movie you remember watching?
Other than Halloween, which I knew that it was him. I didn't realize that They Live was him until like after the movie, and we were sitting there waiting for the theater to empty up, and saw his name in the credits, and I went, "Really? Okay." Not who I would have thought, but well, that was fun. Because Halloween was one of those ones that everybody ran and saw. I was right there in the theaters with everybody else, watching horror change from things that were scary to just, to quote Roddy McDowell, just a madman in a ski mask running around hacking up young virgins, because that's pretty much what horror has become now. It's all axes and chainsaws and everything else like that. So the monsters have taken a back seat, because I think they figured out finally that the scariest monster is that guy next door. So,
yeah, especially my neighbor. He's a fucking weirdo.
Has he fought anybody recently? Have you had front row seats to any street bouts?
No, he's not. He's not been beat up by a girl in the street for a while.
Wow, man.
Gotta lick his wounds.
Talk about Resurrection Boulevard.
Yeah, my first was Halloween, but it was not when it first came out. I'm trying to think. I was watching a lot of horror films, because when you're growing up, that was the thing your parents always steered you away from. So it was always sneak in, watch a horror film kind of a thing. Yeah. And they all sucked. I can't remember anything specifically, but nothing ever caught me until Halloween was rerunning on TV or something like that. And it was very like slow. Every shot mattered. The world was set up in a different way than what normal slasher films were. And it just kind of like hooked me. I was like, this is really interesting. And then, after that, they kind of, by Season of the Witch, I think they all just took a completely different direction. But the first Halloween really grabbed me, because it is just a guy in a ski mask, but the way it's made is so good, and such a low budget too. It was like, what was it, $300,000?
Yep.
Something like that. Something that nobody would even consider these days, not even indies.
Yeah, but back then, wasn't that the equivalent of like $1 million back then? This is 70s money we're talking about here.
Yeah, well,
it was probably a lot to give somebody for like a new project like this, right? Like it wasn't
horror, because
right.
Horror is always the redheaded hairlit bastard stepchild of the movie genre, and
well, it's also the one everybody tries to do because they think you could do it on the cheap, because it's easy to do.
And then they get
just his framing in the films always got me. They still get me.
Yeah. I really like that shot of just the outline of Michael Myers' body in the front yard. Like at the very end of the first one, you're like, oh, this is fucking cool. This shit's never going to end. This guy can't fucking die. I actually saw Big Trouble in Little China first. So my first experience with John Carpenter was not in the horror realm per se. I was fucking horrified by that monster that chains up Kim Cattrall in the middle of the movie and then appears in the truck at the very end as like the teaser. Like that shit scared me as a kid. But then eventually, like at a friend's Halloween party, we were watching Halloween. So Halloween was sort of like the next step. But I really just I think it was also in the time when I was too young to really be noticing styles and tracking directors yet, like that sort of came after getting into conversations like these with my friends who were watching all the horror movies that my parents like steered me away from. So, right. At that point, Big Trouble in Little China just kind of stood on its own as this really fucking cool movie. Like the fight scenes are awesome. There's clearly labeled teams fucking killing each other. And then those three guys with powers show up and really fuck things up. And Kurt Russell is there the whole time. You know what I mean? It's just awesome.
It's just part of the string of like 5 movies in a row in the 80s that just everything weird came from Chinatown.
Yeah, we just accepted
Gremlins,
it.
Big Trouble.
That was the mysticism in the suburbs. It was like, oh man, did you go to Chinatown while you were in the city? Yeah. Holy fuck, dude! It's going like down in Chinatown.
In Hollywood.
Yeah, man, it was no joke actually back then. They were just like, no one understands, but we understand.
I remember watching an interview with John Carpenter, and he was talking about how at the time they got a lot of backlash from the Asian community because they were showing them as stereotypes in that film.
Right.
So, like, not one of us is a doctor or a lawyer or whatever. And he was like,
one of you owns a
movie.
One of them owns a restaurant. The other one manages a restaurant. There was the old father who cooked at the restaurant. I mean, I guess if you want to look and see stereotypes, you could. But I see entrepreneurship. I see business owner. I see people making their way in a country that's not their home, and that's fucking badass. So, I mean, I
Plus,
guess
if you watch any 70s martial arts movie from Hong Kong, none of those fuckers are doctors or lawyers. Like, they're usually people that live in the mountains or some shit.
yeah, true. Living like it's ancient times.
What's more racist?
But then what about when we go over to Hong Kong and we bring Japan into the mix? Then they're all scientists and shit because they are like, there's Godzilla.
The Godzilla was our fault, remember?
Oh, that's right. Well, nowadays especially. That's how that was the story. Oh yeah, we were just trying some shit in the ocean and look what happened. Fucking made a monster. You know.
Yeah.
I think services it's going to be because of North Korea this time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
That'll be an update.
Yeah, I'd rather just hang out at Hobbs End and jump into In the Mouth of Madness. I'll hang out here while the world is going into nuclear war.
It's gonna be a little squat Godzilla with a bowl haircut.
Oh my god.
Yep.
All grown up.
I think the first Carpenter film I saw was actually Escape from New York,
Oh wow, nice.
which I don't know when it came out, but I was quite young when it came
Like
out.
1982.
82.
It was,
I was gonna say.
So
yeah,
I
it's the
probably
movie-
saw that when I was about 3.
Oh wow.
Damn.
Yeah. I
Wow.
watched a lot of weird random shit when I was a kid because I had 2 older brothers. So I probably saw that first, and then that was basically like a fucking superhero movie when I was a kid. So
Mhm.
being a big comics fan, I was like, this is awesome. What else has he done? Then it's
Yeah.
like Big Trouble in Little China, randomly Halloween in the Fog on the same night.
Nice.
And in my head, because I was a Wayne at the time, thinking, fuck, this lassie's got bad luck, isn't she? Fucking a guy in a mask chases her and then the fog chases her.
That's true. Everything's coming after her.
And then folk try to kill her on a train. And then she's
Mhm.
friends with a homeless guy. Trading Places reference.
She was also being stalked in Prom Night, but that wasn't his movie.
No. She gets stalked in a lot of movies. She was fucking typecast to hell for a while, wasn't she?
For real.
I mean, she was the first like labeled scream queen. I mean, she, you know, that was what she was known for, and then she had to break out of that by doing Trading Places.
Yeah, she basically had to get her tits out to go out to the horror game,
Yeah.
which is ironic.
And then break into it.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, you look, Kurt Russell was all Disney prior to Escape from New York. I had to
Yeah.
watch the movie twice because the first time I watched it, I sat there the whole time going, "Really, this guy?" And I kept
Yeah.
waiting. I kept waiting for Bob Crane to pop up somewhere, you know, because he was always Kurt Russell's dad in just about every one of those movies. And so I kept waiting for him to just kind of like appear. But
I was so glad to not be too young for the Kurt Russell Disney era. I was like, my only remembering him is Jack Burton. Like, I remember that from the beginning, you know? So that's where I'm like, all right, well, that's funny when I see all those black and white footage of him being the clean cut kid next door and all those fucking movies.
Right.
Or playing Elvis,
Yeah.
which was in a John Carpenter film.
Well, we
Which,
haven't mentioned The Thing yet either, and he's just
Yeah.
the awesome sauce in that too.
I was gonna say I just watched that before for the first time because I was reading how Tarantino loved that. Yeah, I never saw it before.
You never saw The Thing before?
Never saw the thing.
Shit, dude! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! That's
So I
crazy.
saw how Tarantino was like inspired by it, or not inspired by it, but to make Hateful Eight.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
said he
Holy
loved the
shit.
thing for that kind of isolation and shit goes down. So I was like, okay, sold.
God, how have I not even seen? I mean, like, I guess you get the same feeling when you're watching Hateful Eight, but I never put that together about like the snow, even the fact that it's in a frozen wasteland kind of, and Kurt Russell basically reprising the role, but failing this time, you know, because at least at the end of The Thing, it's that ambiguousness where you're like, oh shit, is he gonna die? He's probably gonna die, but he'll at least live longer than the alien, right? You know, and we think he's not an alien. There's so many things that supposedly imply he was possibly a thing that, oh man, fucking great movie. I love The Thing.
Yeah,
So,
no,
didn't
I
have to
really
have a
enjoyed
hard
it.
ending. It didn't have to have a hard ending, which it seems like now there always has to be, a hard ending, and then the second ending, which is when
happens during the credits
or whatever gets away so that they can make a sequel.
Yeah.
I mean, they kill it once to make everybody happy, and then it gets back up because it's never really dead.
Right, that's the end of every single one.
Well, so I mean, that's like across the board for the horror genre, is the idea that like every one of these movies is like this sort of weird vicarious, we're living through the danger of being threatened, but by witnessing other people go through it, and then we have to see them get away and feel comfortable so that we can feel comfortable. But then they want us to keep coming back and seeing the same story again, so they have to keep it, leave the breadcrumbs there.
Right.
And then sometimes they'll just fucking do a sequel without even leaving the breadcrumbs. Like when I actually kind of really dig John Carpenter's Vampires with James Woods. Yeah, it's basically this kind of genre's vampire movie. It's like a Tarantino type vampire movie, and it's James Woods. He's fucking nuts in this movie, and I think they kind of left it where it could have been just a one and done, and then all of a sudden there were all these other sequels that I don't think. Probably should look up on IMDb before I say any more, but I have no idea what Carpenter's involvement was beyond maybe being like the honorary exec producer. It was what?
Just writing for
Story
characters.
Bank read it purely because he co-wrote the first one.
Gotcha.
I think that is all he got, and possibly theme music.
His scores are pretty badass, man. I like John Carpenter's
He
music.
does a lot with that synthesizer.
Yeah. Well,
I
that's
love
how
how
you
he's
can tell
just
the
like, fuck
style.
it, I'll do it.
Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Yeah.
Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Fucking thing sucks.
Give me my fucking guitar.
I could save how much by doing this myself? All right, give me a keyboard.
Yeah.
How much can I get paid for the fucking CD sales?
Yeah.
But I don't know. The ones in Mouth of Madness are like this, like pretty badass guitar riffs. I was kind of like, that's, I remember being in the theater when that started and going like, oh shit, nice, dude, real cool,
And they got their pound of flesh off of, because remember that was also the era where people bought ringtones.
Yeah.
To put on their phone. So, they paid 99 cents to get this or that or the other. So somebody's because mobile phones in the 80s were still just brand stinking new, and everybody was trying to think of ways to capitalize off of it. So those ringtones came out, so they made a little money off of that. And that's why when I watch all these movies, I mean, they're massive marketing tools is really what they've become now. Whereas back then, I mean, yeah, you had a hook with Halloween, the theme to Halloween and everything else like that, but it was really more, I mean, it was more story.
Yeah.
It wasn't product placement and how are we going to stretch this into 8? Because when Halloween came out, they didn't think they were going to make 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
I think they might have thought about 2. They might have thought about doing 2.
Yeah, well,
but I mean, we all knew. I mean, going into it, you knew that if they were going to do it right, you couldn't do it in one film. So that's why I wasn't surprised that they did the kids in the first one and they'll do the adults in the second one. But when these movies came out, they were more events, and now it's just, you wait and you might catch it when it comes through Netflix, or you might catch it on cable or whatever. And you go into the theaters now for these movies, and there's 4 people.
Well, it's also, I think that the movies used to stay in the theater a little bit longer too, because I felt like these days I feel like I hear, oh shit, that opened this weekend, and then 2 weeks later I'm like, all right, I can finally go see it. I finally have time. People are like, oh dude, it's gone already. It's coming out on digital next week, so just fucking wait. Like Logan, that happened with Logan, where it was like a friend of mine was like, oh dude, they're gonna release it on Halloween in black and white. Just wait for that if you want to go see it in the theater. And I'm like, oh, what the fuck? I mean, it's cool in black and white, but still, it's like I feel like I just heard the movie open and it's gone. So there's a certain level of that. I actually don't mind it so much when I go to a theater and it's not that full, because then I feel like I can relax and maybe even make a little snide comment to myself here and there without pissing anybody off. But I understand that for the
that's the
business model of theaters, that's terrible. You know, I get that.
And you don't have to tell people to fuck off that try and sit in front of you.
Yeah, true. There's that too. I mean, there is the comfort of home has become such a convenient place to watch everything.
Yeah.
You know, so like it's almost like when Spielberg and Lucas were kind of making this like panic announcement a couple of years ago, like everything's gonna change, theaters are gonna become rare experiences that you have to pay more to go to because of streaming, and we're all like, yeah, what the fuck ever, shut up, dude. It seems like it actually kind of is happening now. So you know,
music.
well, unlike tonight when I want to have a fucking John Carpenter movie playing in the background while we're talking about John Carpenter, and I go to every fucking service except for Hulu because I needed to update the app. But still, like, none of them have any John Carpenter. I'm like, what the fuck, really?
That sounded like a fucking advertisement there.
Well, except Hulu's got a pass for right now. I'm being generous here. I'm being generous.
And to prove I don't have sponsorships, fuck Hulu.
Well, they didn't come through for me tonight either, to be honest. It's like, oh, update our app. I'm like, why? Your shit should just work. Fuck you.
Have you ever watched Halloween without the theme music?
Never.
There is a cut of it on YouTube that would have been what the original cut of the film was like when they showed it to the executives. And they didn't like it because they said the film wasn't scary. There was no exciting moments in it. It was a dud. And he went away, and like 20 minutes later, came back with this music attached to it, and they're like, "Oh my god, you've done an amazing editing job on this. This is great." And all he did was put the theme music on it.
That's
if you watch it
dude.
without the theme music, it's literally just a guy walking incredibly slowly.
For no reason.
And a woman falling down a lot.
Well, it's like watching comedies without a laugh track. If you're not cued in, I mean, a lot of times I think people need to be cued when they're supposed to be scared. I mean, and that's the difference when you've got, you know, a guy walking around, you know, with a mask on versus a bona fide monster. You don't really know what to be afraid of. And, you know, a branch moving aside is not scary. Add some tension building music, now it is, you know, and I think that that's all part of making it the experience, you know, and it's, so I couldn't imagine sitting through that movie now without the soundtrack. That would just be too wild. But now I'm gonna have to find it.
Yeah, I actually just went to look for it, and my fucking YouTube app has to update too. I haven't obviously turned my PS4 on in a couple weeks, so I can't even have that in the background either. I go like, oh, there's something on YouTube. Boom, I'll do that real quick. Motherfuck. Fuck you, PlayStation. Oh my God, Sony will never sponsor you either now, man. I'm sorry.
Fuck Sony.
Oh God.
I actually like when they mix the soundtracks with a lot of silence in some tense scenes. That to me is the most effective form of doing that. Every single time I bring up James Wan, but they do that in the Conjuring universe. They do that a lot. They'll kind of give you eerie undertones, but then in the apex scene, they'll drop the bottom out. So it's just you with your thoughts watching it.
Yeah, basically the best Blumhouse movies are made by James Wan.
Oh yeah.
The others are just jump scare pieces of shit.
Yeah.
But you know when the scare's coming because they drop every sound, not just the music. They drop everything, and then it's it's just like someone jumping out from behind a door saying "boo" at you.
Yeah.
All that results in is you punch them in the face. It's not scary.
The other 50% of Blumhouse films are just the found footage, like swings and misses that they try.
Yeah, and some of those, like they try to do the music is It's like, oh yeah, we only have music if there's music playing in a room that somebody walks into. It's not like we don't actually put in theme music. You know, we're trying to go hyper real, like Blair Witch. You know, when they tried to do that. But I mean, it's because we all grew up watching movies like the John Carpenter movies, where the soundtrack is literally like the turning of a page. You know what I mean? Like there's a certain level of, I feel like the movies of our youth generation time, we're still maybe kind of like discovering what modern movies are going to be. And so they kind of made it like this is going to sound like a crazy analogy, but almost like reading a book, where it was like you're getting the description of the whole fucking atmosphere. And sometimes for a movie, that's just seeing establishing shots and having music that's supposed to kind of guide you into what emotional territory the upcoming next scene is going to be. So to have that be what we kind of grow up with as like a baseline, it's really easy for us to notice when people start fucking with that equation and getting it way wrong. You know what I mean? And I always feel like I still would prefer, you know, not to start sounding curmudgeonly in my late 30s, but I kind of prefer the way it was sometimes. There are definitely days where
when movies actually were cinematic and didn't just look like fucking home movies that you'd shot on your iPhone.
Right. I mean, that's a cool idea to do once or twice. You know what I mean? Like that, like it was pioneering when Blair Witch did it, but
then it turned into a genre and it got run into the ground, and now it's a joke of itself.
But it's like they've never tried to marry that with a cinematic approach. I mean, I think the latest Blair Witch, the one that came out like 2 years ago or last year and a half, 2015, maybe, Blair Witch, that felt to me like a step in the right direction. It was scarier, and I think it was lampooning itself enough and taking itself seriously enough at the same time. But it's the kind of thing, like I always think, like, what if like a John Carpenter would try a movie like that? First of all, they would be smart and not make the whole movie that. You know what I mean? There would be parts of it. The rest of it would be a normal movie. You know, like think of a movie like Event Horizon, where there's just one moment where there's a found footage scare and it's fucked up. It's crazy. Like that's one of the most disturbing parts of that movie. They do it once for 30 seconds or less. You know what I mean? And I think that's what
I was gonna say. That was the premise, I think, of VHS. Do you ever see that?
Yeah.
Where it starts out in this kind of world, but then they just dive. I mean, 90% of the film is just found footage. But if they, like you're saying, David, they dialed it back, I think that would be the sweet spot there. Because it is like detectives investigating a murder. Oh, what's this tape do? When they put it in, then that's the movie.
Yeah. Oh, it might kill you.
I always wonder, who fucking edits those? If it's supposed to be footage, why is it all edited? Why do 90% of them have a soundtrack?
They always say, "Oh,
songs to murders."
On the Logan, the what am I watching? Like when Logan's watching the expositional like film that's on the lady's phone, it's like, who edited that? Did this nurse, while she was escorting the kids away from a facility, just edited this masterpiece together?
And like, yeah, like when the fuck did she do that? You know what I mean? Like, even if she let's really go out on a limb and say you download apps these days, you could technically, I mean, the iMovie app is supposed to actually work on an iPad or an iPhone or something like that. Fuck Apple, by the way. It's still, it begs the question, like, and this is the difference between people who've ever put something together editing wise in any way. Know that shit doesn't take 30 fucking seconds. We're not Samara from the goddamn Ring. I'm just not thinking a tape into existence. Like, to put a 3-minute thing together could take you a fucking week if you have a lot of shit to go through. Like, if you're making a 3-minute doc from, 2 hours of interviews and a whole shit ton of B-roll, you could kill yourself. You know what I mean? Like, when do these people make, like, what, the spirits are just sitting there on the side like, oh, we killed 2 people. Did you get any shots of that? No, man, I just fucking ate them. It's like, you should have shot it, dude. You should have fucking shot it. Well,
footage from different angles and different kinds of shots. It's like, wow, you really spliced together a nice looking thing here.
I had your tape slapped together down at the community college. I think
why they're dead.
Pretty story.
That's why they're dead, because they stopped running just to edit. It's like, just one moment, please.
Like, no, dude, don't hide. Just keep running. You could tell them
the story. It's exporting.
You could tell them the story yourself. You could just tell them the story when you get there. But then, like a movie like The Thing, that is where you wish there was some fucking... Well, didn't they have... There was found footage in The Thing. John Carpenter did it. There was that fucking the Swedish team's tape.
Oh, the other
the research expedition. Yeah.
Fuck yeah, man. I'm glad I brought that one back. John Carpenter did found footage. See? He used a little bit. He didn't make the whole fucking movie that.
Right, as a tool to be like, oh, we should investigate this area.
See, now I'm starting to hate found footage the more this conversation goes on. Like, I used to, like, make a little bit of an allowance for it sometimes, but now I'm like, oh, yeah, what the fuck?
I never make allowances.
Really economical to do.
90% of found footage movies are about fucking Slender Man.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck? Do something original.
That's funny. Well, maybe like that was the whole idea. Like you look at the thing, it's footage they found that they only had to investigate for 5 minutes, and then they went on with the rest of the idea. You know what I mean? It's like you found the footage. It's a video game. You put it in your fucking inventory now. You look at it every once in a great while when you need to. I mean, like, I don't know. How would you do Big Trouble as like a found footage movie? You know, like
nowadays it would just be CCTV cameras.
True.
On all the streets.
And people recording shit on their phones.
Yeah. Well, you would if there was a massive kung fu battle going on with machine guns and swords and people flying through the air with lightning coming out their arseholes, you'd be filming it on your phone, wouldn't you?
Yeah. There'd be a lot of people fumbling to get that up.
There'd be folk doing selfies with behind them like this.
Yeah, like as their buddies are like fucking killing each other behind them, like, yo, Saturday night. Oh shit.
Swiping through Snapchat filters, like, what goes best with this lightning shot?
And like that would be funny if there was a way to kind of do it seriously, but also lampoon it so that like they're like trying to get the shit ready, and then someone just like chops them in fucking half, like oh fuck, dude, or cuts their hand off as they're about to click the button. You know what I mean? And then their hand gets chopped off, and then they just turn and go, "What the fuck?" You know? All right, now I gotta kill you.
I was watching Big Trouble in Little China earlier. In that scene, it's amazing how many arms and leg breaks they have in that one sequence,
dude. And I mean, and it's like you could tell they set up to do the fake thing where the guy just bends his arm, but it's like, like one side should just be on fucking crutches for the rest of the fucking movie.
There's one where it's blatantly just a broom and a trouser leg. No one's got a leg that skinny, for fuck's sake.
My favorite in that sequence is when somebody, I think it's the guy who's also in Die Hard, just grabs one of the other dudes and smashes his face between two buildings. Like there's like a little crack between, and I was just like, oh my God, like you just fucking killed that guy. Like, holy shit. It was just so brutal. That fight sequence is so brutal. I mean, I have no idea why they never made a video game of Big Trouble in Little China. Like a video game where you switch off levels between Jack Burton and Wang, and you both pull up to the fucking Wing Kong, and what was the other one? The Wing Kong and shit. Oh, the other ones. The Lopans guys, whatever they were called. No, they were the Wing Kong. What was the fucking yellow? Whatever. I'll think of it like at the end of the episode. You could fight through that shit, and then you choose. That would be the only place we could choose. What?
So they're 10 minutes after it's over is when you'll think about it. By the way, there was an actual Big Trouble Little China video game, but it was back in the Commodore 64 days.
Oh, that doesn't count. That's not real. That's like Kurt Russell being in Disney movies. That doesn't real. It's not real. It doesn't count. Never happened.
3 or 4 different comic book adaptations of Big Trouble in Little China. There was one recently that was a crossover. Big Trouble in Little China. So it was Jack Burton crossing over with Snake Plissken.
No shit. See, that'd be fucking cool. Oh my God.
Yeah, I've got that whole series.
Damn.
It was like really shit, but just fun.
That's just a matter of time before that's just shared universe of spin-off films out the ass.
Well, how the fuck did Metal Gear not get sued by fucking John Carpenter? Because I mean, come on, Solid Snake is pretty much Snake Plissken. He's even got a fucking eye patch. You know what I mean? Like that's the reason I love those games, because it's basically like a futuristic Snake Plissken. Like in the fifth one on PS4, he's got a robotic arm. It's so fucking cool. But to me, I've always felt like
of character likeness.
Yeah. Oh my God. For real.
How the fuck did Captain Ron not get sued? He had the same fucking hair and everything.
Holy shit, too. Yeah. God. It's the only palatable part of that movie. Is it?
There's no palatable part of that movie.
It's a piece of shit. A giant piece of shit.
Fuck you, Martin Short. Just fuck you, dude. You've done some awesome things. That was not one of them.
Have you guys seen a John Carpenter movie you didn't like?
Yeah, plenty.
I was gonna say, like we were talking about earlier, my misstep was with The Ward. Is that the last film he's done?
Yep, that killed his career.
Yep.
What was it called?
The Ward.
The Ward. Yeah.
I did not see it.
Don't.
It took him 8 years to finance, and it looks like he made it on a VHS fucking camcorder from the 80s.
Wow.
But it's
Wow.
like all
That's-
the skill and technique he's had as a filmmaker over his career just fucking died like 5 minutes before he started rolling cameras.
Yeah.
Damn. Wow. It sounds like you should just watch it for the train wreck effect, but
It was one where you saw it and you were like, oh, maybe I should. I think I'm going to avoid this film. I'm not going to rent it. But then it says, like, John Carpenter's The Ward, and you're like, maybe I'll give it a shot.
yeah. It's got some street cred on this. I don't know. Maybe we'll see.
Really, really disappointing.
Yeah. That film sucks. And it has Johnny Depp's ex in it.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
Fresh off the
Punching bag.
Yeah, fresh off the beaten path. I guess is what I was looking for. Didn't think that was gonna go over that well.
Oh, shit.
I think we can stop recording now. I don't think
For Jetta.
I think you just found your intro, Drew.
I think I just found my next lawsuit, Johnny Depp.
Oh, shit.
Another fucking pirate that hates me.
Allegedly.
Should we all just take turns saying allegedly?
Posers don't care, man. Posers don't care.
Posers don't care. Yep.
Oh, shit.
A couple I don't.
Oh, my
I
God.
don't like
Wow.
Ghosts on Mars.
Yeah, that was pretty shitty.
I just avoided it because Ice Cube.
I got to go to
Yeah.
I got to go to a preview screening of that because I was interning at a casting agency in New York. And it was actually the summer right before 9/11 happened. So that kind of sucks because I also got some cool swag because Spider-Man was filming in the city at that time.
Mm.
And the original poster for the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man was going to be, it's a picture of Spider-Man holding onto a wall, and in his eye is reflected the Twin Towers.
Yeah.
And I had the poster. It's in my basement somewhere. It's all fucked up though, so it's not gonna be worth any money. But yeah, while we were working one night, all of a sudden one of the casting directors is like, "Yo, you want to go see the new John Carpenter movie?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, fucking John Carpenter, all right." And like halfway through, we were just like, I mean, at least the dude from Snatch is in this. You know what I mean? Like, holy shit, this is bad. It was rough.
It's ironically not Jason Statham's worst film.
His part is cool. He's pretty badass.
Well,
He's done a lot of really terrible films. There's no way that's his worst.
He's like, 4'2" in real life.
Is he really?
That's
he's
crazy.
tiny.
That's
Jet Li
crazy.
syndrome.
And
Yeah,
he's
he does not.
He's not like hard in real life like he is in the movies. He's an ex-diver, for fuck's sake. A failed
Really?
Olympic diver, yeah.
That's why he's all cut up.
No, it's just he's an ugly fuck. Oh, you meant his body? I thought you meant his face.
Yeah.
Shit! Wow.
That's just steroids,
Jeez.
allegedly.
That's that GH2 or whatever. Allegedly. Yes. See, it's the beauty of the language is you just say allegedly and everything goes
You need
away.
a soundboard, Drew, and you just every time you say something, you can just hit a button and just shoot the word allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly.
You know, you don't have to breath on it. It just comes. You have a soundboard. It'll have allegedly, maybe a couple of other.
It just have allegedly a soundboard and alleged soundboard.
Allegedly in the C word. There we go. That's all I need.
It's just the giant Staples button that he just hits and it just says allegedly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Wow.
Yeah, that movie. That movie's a bit of a clusterfuck, really. The setup to it feels like it's a John Carpenter film,
Yeah.
but it then just feels like a studio came in and went, "Yeah, you're not making your movie the way you want to make it. You're making it the way we want to make it."
It's extra disappointing.
I mean, if you didn't see it because of Ice Cube, you should really not see it because of Natasha Henstridge. That was fucking like brutal. Her trying to act hard in that movie. And I mean, it's cool that he was working with Pam Grier, but Pam Grier's wasted on that movie too. It's fucking it's misstep after misstep.
She's trying to act hard, and all the guys on the set are trying to act like they're not hard.
Yeah.
Which is basically like every movie she's in.
Yeah. It works in Jackie Brown, but
Yeah.
it works in Jackie Brown. Not so much in Ghost of Mars. Also, Clay Duvall's in there. That's a waste. It's like, God
Yeah.
damn. And yeah, Ice Cube
What
does
fucking happened
kind
to her career?
Why? Yeah. What career?
She was
Being related.
She was like the next it girl for like being an actual actress, and then fucking
And then-
career over.
Claire Danes got cast in Homeland, and it was over after. I mean, yeah, I guess that would be what she was being looked at for, right? So this is, but yeah, they look fucking exactly the same hair wise. Anyway, they had the same haircut, pretty much the same build. She was all right on Carnival, which was an awesome fucking show on HBO. I really wish they would do something with that, bring that back.
Yeah.
I mean, I know
too, by the way.
Yeah, I was gonna say Prince of Darkness does suck. When I watched it, I was not happy. I was like, fuck, man, really?
So I was worried that the reason I hated it so much was because of all the pre-build-up. Like I said, I mean, I was waiting for it to come out in the theaters, reading all these Fangoria magazine articles, and I was just stoked, thinking that this was going to be, you know, he was going to hit stride.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's the first time I can recall dozing off during a movie.
Wow.
I think it's my first. I think it's the first time I fell asleep in a movie. I do it all the time now. I mean, I'm in my 50s. So, I mean, I fall asleep walking to the bathroom, but
movies are our tranquilizers, dude.
But that is the first time I can recall falling asleep in a film, and you know, my wife actually elbowing me and going, "Hey, you wanted to see this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that past tense, put it." You know, I mean, it was really disappointing.
She's like, "This is your pick, asshole. We're not seeing this again."
Yeah, pretty much.
So what, motherfucker? We're seeing Steel Magnolias next week. That's it. You can suck a dick as much as you like.
Her pick, I think, was along the lines of, I think it might have been Basic Instinct or something. I'm not sure.
Oh, that's a lucky break for you, bro. To be honest, you made out like a bandit on this deal.
Could be worse.
Yeah, that was a pretty regular event for us. You know, we alternated picks, and since we've been divorced, she tells me happily that she's not seen a horror movie since. But
you're like,
yeah,
and that hurts me because
sitting there in that theater, and that was the first time that I was concerned that maybe I had something built up so much that it failed to live up to what I built it for.
Yeah.
And then I started talking to everybody else, and they're like, "No, it was actual garbage."
Yeah, Prince of Darkness sucks.
It wasn't just you.
It's rough. Even Wang being the star couldn't save that. You know,
I think the first film I fell asleep during, this is going to sound terrible. It might be even more of an arsehole than actually am. It's Schindler's List, and it was actually just before the shower scene.
Oh my god!
I was snoring during that scene.
Oh. Like that's like that's the opposite of the Seinfeld episode. It's like you're either making out or sleeping during Schindler's List. You're now a white supremacist. I'm sorry. You are now a neo-Nazi.
Everybody's tense and watching the screen, and Drew's like,
dude, don't feel bad. I went to see Chaz Palminteri perform Bronx Tale as a one-man show, and halfway through it, all of a sudden you just hear this like loud snore from the middle of the audience, like off to my right, because we were on the left side. It was at the Bergen Pack up here in North Jersey, and all of a sudden he's like doing the fucking dice thing, and all of a sudden you hear, and I was like, no fucking way, like in the theater, not even in a movie theater, in the theater.
I thought you were gonna say, and you hear a snore. Plot twist, that snore was me.
And that man was me. No.
De Niro.
Fuck no, yeah, very, very well could have been. Guys like in my backyard.
The only thing about this that actually made it vaguely interesting for more than 5 minutes was the weird guy that looked kind of like a camp Chuck Norris.
Mm-hmm.
And trying to work out who the fuck he was.
That Alice Cooper being in it was pretty cool too. I mean,
nah, fuck that.
It was that they were trying. They were trying. It just felt like they threw it together in a weekend too. Like I was watching it going like they filmed this in a day or two, or like, you know, like it just didn't feel like they took time. You know,
Definitely
I know
special effects felt like they threw it together a weekend.
I mean, I know I like the movie, but I could see people not liking John Carpenter's vampires. In fact, I know because I tried to show it to people, and they were like, "Dude, this sucks." I'm like, "Just shut the fuck. It's cool." Cheryl Lee is in this shit. All right, fucking Laura Palmer is gonna be a fucking vampire in 5 minutes, and James Woods is literally shooting vampires in the face, going "fuck you," and I'm like, "Dude, that is awesome."
What
Like,
more do you want?
And on top of that, the guy playing the villain is the guy that gets the hand-me-downs that Steven Seagal doesn't want to be in.
oh, really? Now is that like a, or was
Oh,
that
that's
at the
what he
same
was.
time?
He was the guy that, when Seagal was at the height of his fame, doing like Under Siege and stuff, the movies he was turning down, that guy was taken.
Well, the guy who played Valak, whatever that. I
Yeah.
should probably know this actor's name. I will find it on the Google machine while we're talking here.
Because he could fake a sidekick, so that made him a martial artist back then. Bit like Van Damme.
You talking about Jean-Claude Van Damme? Somebody else.
Might as well have been. Wait a minute. Oh, there was a TV show of John Carpenter's vampires too? Holy fuck.
I know there was a sequel that had
With John Bon Jovi in it
Yeah.
called Los Muertos. Yes.
where you can't make your mind up if it's his actual hair or a wig, because in quite a lot of movies he wears a wig.
Yeah. It was 98 this came out. And who played Valak? Where the fuck are you? Do.
Well, we're waiting.
I know, for real. Everything's at a standstill now. Jan Valak was played by Thomas Ian Griffith.
Griffiths, that's it, yeah.
Wow, that name is super familiar. I did not recognize him in that movie as anybody else. But yeah, he was in Excessive Force. He was also in Triple X. Look at that.
Yeah, the porn version.
You learn things on this show. But yeah, like the dialogue was atrocious. Like when he sees fucking James Woods and he's like, Jack Crow. And I'm like, his name is Jack Crow? Jesus fucking Christ. But still, again, I loved the movie. Like it was just like a fun movie, you know?
Did that have one of the Baldwins in it?
Yes, Daniel, Big Dan Baldwin, and of course this came out, you know, in the late '90s. So I was one of the first people at school and in college to have a DVD player, and it was an actual set-top DVD player, like an old VCR. And so I was like buying DVDs and watching all of them with the commentaries on. And Daniel Baldwin, apparently, there's a scene where he got bit by a vampire and he doesn't want to tell anybody, and so he's trying to like burn the virus out of the wound. And so on the commentary, John Carpenter's like, yep, so he was supposed to hold that there for like 1 or 2 seconds, but of course this is Dan, gotta go beyond. He goes, that the gel that you wear when you do this effect only really stops the fire from hurting for 2 or 3 seconds. So we're at 5, 6, and he's like, yep, and that scream right there, that's Dan really burning his arm. And he's like, but that's Dan for you. And I'm like, oh my god. I was like, okay, I cannot wait to make movies one day, just for shit like that. It's like, this guy wasn't supposed to murder the other person in the scene. He full on just stabbed the shit out of that guy. I mean, we got the shot, and then we had to shut it down.
And he was the less angry Baldwin as well.
Well, he's also got to outdo the other two at least.
You know, only because Steven was in Usual Suspects.
Yeah.
That is literally the only fucking thing that gives him any street credit at all. All right? Like,
Not supporting Biodome.
oh, shit. Good call. I knew I was going to forget something big by saying this. But still, Usual Suspects is his calling card, for real. Like, I'm like, dude, that's literally the best
Good in
thing.
that.
Best thing.
I think he did Celebrity Big Brother or some shit in the UK, Stephen Baldwin.
I didn't know that was a thing.
And so is the fact that he's labeled celebrity. You got to push the limits on that
To be
one.
fair, the British celebrities that were in it were like, you know, a lassie that was a page 3 girl from the Sun newspaper, so she's only famous because she gets her tits out in a paper on a Tuesday. It's not like high standards.
It reminds me of the fucking Office special when they're trying to push David Brent as a celebrity, and they're like, yeah, and there's this guy from The Office, and everyone's like, what? Yeah, like I kind of feel like that's the level we're talking about here.
Yep.
Nice. Well, you kicked ass in fucking Unusual Suspects, Steven, if you're listening, watching, whatever.
If you are, fuck off. So, as you were bringing up bad ones of his films, have you seen any of the unproduced screenplays he has kicking about that's all over the internet?
No.
Where would one find these? For real, I'll read them tonight.
I'll try and get you some links. There is a bunch of ones for films he was wanting to make that could never get financed because he never really had 2 or 3 successful films back to back. He always had a duffer in the middle. Because that's why they made Escape from Los Angeles, because that was the only film he could get financed at the time.
Which was basically the same fucking movie again.
Yeah.
Like almost exactly, just in a different city.
With the studio's input of, you have to make it funnier.
Yeah. My God, they're real.
So there's one, and it was his take on the Fantastic Four.
Oh,
which,
shit.
I shit you not, is the weirdest fucking thing you've ever read. It's basically Assault on Precinct 13, but with the Thing in it. Like, what the fuck?
Kind of cool. I'd watch that shit.
Why not reboot Fantastic Four again? Third time's a charm, right?
And you know what? Maybe you need to mix in a little Assault on Precinct 13 to make that shit fly, because trying to go comic book route has not worked twice. You know, well, actually, there have been 3 Fantastic Four movies, but I guess we're counting the Rise of the Silver Surfer is counting with the first one there.
Oh, I was counting reboot attempts.
That was just counting the Corman one because it's the funniest.
Oh man, I forgot about that.
It's like folk wearing their pajamas. It's brilliant.
Yeah, that was back in a more forgiving time, actually. Again, before my time.
But yeah, he's got so many unproduced scripts. He's got ones that are for westerns that he never got made, which are the ones that actually seem like the most legit films he could have made in his career, because he's obviously a massive fan of Howard Hawks and people like that. So,
oh, nice.
Making his version of that would have been good. But I've noticed a trend. Almost every 4 scripts you find is basically Assault on Precinct 13, but with different people in it.
Oh my
and then
God,
I started
dude.
going through his career, and I noticed something. The Thing is basically Assault on Precinct 13.
You know, I can see that.
Ghost on Mars is basically Assault on Precinct 13.
That definitely is.
Sense
Yeah.
of Darkness.
Yeah.
Like
to me,
one fucking story, you know.
The Ward is like a paranormal version of that, right?
Yeah.
When she's finally in the insane asylum.
so then he has these few that stand out then that were like, wow, man, you fucking really lightning in a bottle with that. And I mean, to me, that is then Big Trouble in Little China and Halloween. And The Thing, I mean, even if it is part of that formula, I kind of see that as being the beginning of that formula. So I'd forgive that one, because The Thing is fucking awesome. I love The Thing.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm even too biased to really give anything remotely close to like a judgment call on that. But I think The Thing is like a really cool movie. So I don't think I should have that counted against it for him copying that one over and over again.
And if you're plagiarizing yourself, who cares? Like, Iron Maiden's been doing that for years.
So is Ozzy. Literally has released the same fucking album with the same song on it like 5 times.
That's because he
trying to just copy the Zach Wild guitar.
Yeah, he can't remember
the same song repeatedly.
Yeah. He uses a teleprompter in the stage.
I mean, yeah, honestly, when I saw Rob Zombie at Ozfest in '98, he sang the same verse for Dragula 3 times. And I was like, fuck you, dude. I was so pissed. And so, you know, I feel like it's safe to bring up since he did the remake of Halloween. But it was just like,
to be fair, he's made the same film about 5 fucking times.
True. And only one of them was good. And that was Devil's Rejects.
Yeah.
That was the most different of them all.
Yeah, it was fun seeing his wife get brutally murdered in that one.
Yeah. And of course he used Freebird.
Yes.
Did you guys, I mean, have you guys seen In the Mouth of Madness? Do you guys like that one? That's one of my favorites by John Carpenter, for sure.
That's definitely an interesting film for him to have made. At that time, what was the film he made just before it? Was it The Village of the Damned?
Village of the Damned, I think, the remake of Village of the Damned.
I was trying to work out if it was that or if it was The Bloody Invisible Man with Chevy Chase.
I actually like that fucking movie too. I forgot that that's him. Fuck.
Yeah.
Memoirs of an Invisible Man. Such a cool version of Invisible Man, dude. Like when you see him eating and you see the shit like in his stomach and he like, then you see him puke it up. It's fucking cool. Some of the stuff they did in that movie was cool. I guess that's where he first worked with Sam Neill then, because then Sam Neill comes back over for In the Mouth of Madness, which that was just like at the time that came out. My friend and I went to see that, and we'd also seen Hideaway when that was out in the theaters, and we felt like they were like somehow connected because they had this like vibe to them, you know. And I think for the most part it's because of that guitar music in the beginning of In the Mouth of Madness when you're watching all the books be printed. But it was very meta. It was one of those first movies like on the way to like the Fight Club era of like, all right, wait, is this real? Have they come out of the book? Like, what's going on here? What's real? What's not? Where are we?
I watched the Grindhouse edited version of In the Mouth of Madness with Event Horizon.
Wow.
Which is a pretty cool
Yeah.
two films to shove together with the only real thing in common, apart from folk going batshit crazy, is Sam Neill.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, it was good.
His fucking insane space version of Hellraiser in Event Horizon is a nice counterpoint to his sort of victim madness in The Mouth of Madness. And just everything, even the guy who played Sutter Kane, what was his name? The guy who was also in Beverly Hills Cop 2. He was like the big bad. And
Prochnow,
yeah. He was fucking cool as Sutter Kane.
He was from, was it Das Boot or something? He was in an Oscar-nominated film, wasn't he? German movie.
And then you even had the guy who played Vigo in Ghostbusters 2. Showing up as like one of the farm people, blows his brains out, and he says, "He wrote me this way," and he just blows his head off. Like, that was fucking cool. The idea of characters responding to the fact that they know they're in a written environment. That's fucking nuts. Like, it was too early too for that.
Yeah, that's one of the things some of the people on my email list have been pointing out. A lot of these films came maybe 5 years earlier than if they had done, they would have been hits. Like, there's people that are saying Big Trouble in Little China, people weren't ready for a movie where your hero is actually the sidekick.
Yeah.
Jack Burton's the least effective hero ever. It's the sidekick that's the fucking star of the movie. And then you've got films like, you know, Escape from New York. You got an anti-hero, and those people saying that it was in the era before anti-heroes, but I'd say that I call bullshit on that, because have you ever seen Death Wish?
Yeah, so they've been.
How is that not an anti-hero? He's a fucking murdering piece of shit.
Yeah, full-on vigilante. Didn't they have to put out like those like "please don't do this at home" messages from like all right, look guys, we get that you love the movie, stop fucking killing each other out there, please.
Gun PSAs and all that.
Yeah, I think what's his name actually had to do it too, right? Yeah, it was Bronson had to come out and be like, listen, don't do what I'm doing in this movie because it's against the law.
Or the next one, or the next one, or the next one.
I will say that remake with Bruce Willis looks fucking awesome. I am very pumped for that.
Yeah.
He's had a career death wish for a while, going by the movies he's picked, though, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I shit you know, I was in a shop about a month ago, and there was a DVD where the guy that played Zach from Saved by the Bell was getting top billing over him.
Oh shit! What movie was that with Mark Paul Gosselaar?
I fuck know, some piece of shit. Basically,
Bruce Willis?
I think what the problem is, he's in a lot of movies that he's only in for like 5 minutes, so they're basically using him to sell DVDs by putting him on the cover. But he doesn't get top billing in them.
Yeah, every year he's in an action movie that like you're scrolling through Amazon or whatever, you're like, holy shit, Bruce Willis did an action film, and it's got like 1 star, and you're like, yeah.
Yeah, never mind. Not doing this.
Yeah.
Unless we're going to start a podcast just about buying on a whim 1-star DVDs and reviewing them. I am
Steve could do that.
doing that.
I already have.
Holland Eye Network. The $1 DVD podcast. 1-star DVD podcast. Oh, shit.
Yeah, I've noticed one thing about John Carpenter. You don't get many rumours of him being linked with movies that he then didn't do. Like, you had Wes Craven, when we did the Wes Craven one, he had all these fucking movies that he was linked to that he then couldn't do because he was contracted to do something else that were huge properties, like the movie Seven. John Carpenter, there's no fucking rumours like that ever. Yeah. It's like everything he's had to go out and actually get made himself.
Well, I feel like with the way he started his career, with everything he was doing, I feel like he wants creative control over a lot of different things. So he may not have been willing to sign any of those contracts to throw him around doing all kinds of different projects.
Do you think that type of attitude's hurt his career?
Well, I mean,
he probably could have become bigger, but I don't know that it's. You know, he probably is happier, you know. And there comes a point where, you know, if you're doing well enough, you can make that trade-off and take happy over a paycheck.
yeah, it's the Patrice O'Neill thing, the comic. He was he hated companies, and he told Comedy Central to go fuck themselves, and he was still a giant stand-up comic in his own right. There are guys like that that just want to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, if you think about, in some ways, especially to the era that this happened, it's kind of like the story of the American dream, right? Like, you know, you had to go out and just fucking do it yourself. And it's funny because he's obviously a legend, you know what I mean? You're dedicating an episode to him for a reason, yet we're like looking at the fact that, I mean, he hasn't had what you would say like the Spielberg success, where it's like the dude had fucking studios sucking his dick forever. You know what I mean? This guy still has to push. There was even, I mean, if you want to talk about rumors, there's the thing that happened recently where it was somehow, I haven't read the whole article, so I'm gonna sort of paraphrase it, and maybe you've got the full deal. Allegedly somebody misquoted him, or basically fabricated an article that said at a festival he went on this fucking crazy rant about how he should be getting credit for the fact that a movie like Get Out was successful and popular. And of course that's been retracted. Whoever reported on the fact that article came out has said that there's been no corroboration. In fact, they've had to issue an apology to John Carpenter. But it's like, I guess it makes me think that, like, it's interesting that I don't think somebody's going to be able to have the kind of career that he has starting now. You know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't be able to build a career the way he did in the environment that's out there right now, as far as like the industry. He is from like the pioneering age when the Wes Cravens and all these guys, I mean, basically were given a door in. You know what I mean? Like, you know, Wes Craven on the Nightmare on Elm Street DVDs talks about how basically somebody taught him how to make movies, and he learned that from just being like their mail runner at a production company. But he was in his like late 30s. He decided to change his career, and so like if he hadn't had somebody basically show him how to do it, he wouldn't have been able to do it. If Carpenter hadn't been able to have this crazy hit with a very indie film that, until he added the guitars, was possibly on the chopping block completely, you know, like that's a kind of fluke that doesn't happen anymore. And part of that is because everybody's got a fucking video camera in their phone, and you have things like the Blumhouse model, you know, like it's, the evolution has been really strange, but at the same time, it wouldn't have happened if he didn't exist, if he wasn't part of the lexicon and the history that led us here. So it's an interesting one of those sort of Mobius strips, you know. It's like, he's important, he's legendary, his name is known, but if you look at what he did, probably young people, it's hard for them to get into it because they're used to the Conjurings and the Insidiouses, and but at the same time, Conjuring and Insidious would not be being made because the people making those were inspired by John Carpenter. It's like an old cliche.
Or even films like It Follows. Like, I think talking about like his legacy, the impact he has in a genre is what we're kind of driving at here. And in the horror genre, we always talk about how it's basically ignored or boiled down to B-slasher films at this point. He made B movies very, very well. And his influence is throughout the horror genre today. Unfortunately, with his own films being made, it's like a cliche, what have you done for me lately thing, which is, I mean, it's every industry today is like that. So unless you are untouchable, like a Spielberg or something like that, you're gonna just throw your unproduced scripts out in the world and see what happens. It's a sad reality, you know.
I think our lifetime is going to be the one that sees the end of, because we all remember that there were directors and that as soon as you've heard that they were attached to a product, you ran out and saw it. But now that I think that's gone, you know, because it's who popped up this week.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. There's too many.
Word about this. I mean, case in point, they're bringing up all the history of these brother and sister that took over It. I never heard of them before, but you know, I mean, obviously somebody had, and they came in and took over a job. But it's like knowing producers and having an attachment to them now. I think that we've slaughtered that. You know, we've killed albums, we've killed movies, and it's now just going to be, you know, streaming entertainment. That's pretty much what we're going to devolve to.
I hope it becomes a circle kind of a thing where eventually it comes back to a director that has a specific style that you do go out and see. I mean, I hope it continues. I think it will continue in that kind of a cycle where it will become kind of a streaming formulaic thing for a lot of them. And then there will be a film that comes out in a John Carpenter vein where you're like, oh shit, this guy, and then he makes his own thing and you go out and support him, see him, then that becomes the thing to do.
I think one of the issues is the lower end of the mid-budget movies don't get made anymore. Like the majority of classic movies cost less than 10 million. So even if you translate it into modern money, there's not many $20 million movies getting a cinema release.
Right.
Yeah.
Unless they're going through Blumhouse. Yeah, they'll just release like someone taking a shit in a movie.
Yeah. Well, they actually, I just posted on
the door moved in the background. So
I just posted on the Hollow 9 page today a trailer for their movie that's coming out on October 13th. The Blumhouse has this thing called A Happy Death Day, literally a combination of Groundhog Day and Scream. I mean, it's this fucking chick getting killed on her birthday a billion times in a row until she figures out who's killing her. And it's like, you know, the trailer is really fucking cool. They have fucking 50 Cent, you know, you're kind of suddenly remembering In the Club, like, was a cool song for a minute. And then you're like, yeah, except this is happening. And like, and you know, you're kind of like, for the first time you're watching the trailer, you're like, oh, that's kind of, this might be cool. And then I watched the trailer a second time and I'm like, you're fucking kidding me, really? I mean, like, at least they got a really hot chick for it, so I guess that might make.
But it's in like a dorm, isn't it?
Yeah, she wakes up in a dorm room that she doesn't remember how she got there.
That kind of took away a little bit from me.
It's just the fact that, like, they will basically produce somebody just taking a shit and put it in the theater. That's kind of like where I was going with that, I guess, because I'm like. It looks cool at first, then you realize, yeah, wait, that's just a polished turd. Like, okay, that's fucking terrible.
Is he called 50 Cent now because that's all the money he actually has?
It's all the money he started with. It's all the money he's leaving with. Have a great weekend in Vegas. Oh, man.
That's what happens when you're not a great rapper and then just throw all your money in the business ventures that fail.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we were at Dragon Con and we heard John Cusack speak, and he straight up said, I think all the storytelling's on TV now. He's like, it's very hard to tell a satisfying story and have people go enjoy it in the theater. So we were all under the sneaking suspicion that he was in Atlanta working on a TV show, and the convention was like, hey, would you please come over? And he came over and he brought character actor Ned Bellamy with him, so it was sort of like they must be working on something together, you know what I mean? So he didn't elaborate on what it is, but he said that exact phrase like 4 times throughout his panel, like all the good storytelling is on TV, all the good storytelling is on TV, all the storytelling is streaming. And I'm like, okay,
we're just pitching to HBO, hire me.
Either HBO, Netflix, whoever's in the room, whoever the fuck is here. Like, I work with you. But
I want my Ozark.
At the same time, though, we're not even like learning directors' names anymore. I feel like, you know, it's like we have a few that popped up in the last decade, maybe, that are like household names. But then even those we're turning on. You know, J.J. Abrams is now supposedly going to be directing Star Wars Episode 9, and everyone's like, no, fuck that. Like, we're finally tired of J.J. Like, it's over now. You know what I mean? No fucking lens
I've
flare.
only seen the opposite of that. That's horrible.
What do you mean that you haven't seen any of the negative shit? I've seen people like there's a petition.
Yeah, how are people turning on him?
There's a petition.
Resurrected Star Wars.
And now there's a petition for him to not direct Episode 9. Like, there's like one of those like fucking things going around Facebook. Like, sign the petition.
That's ridiculous.
He's the most famous guy on the planet for ripping off Michael Bay.
And adding lens flares. Adding lens flares and using Michael Giacchino to write his music. I mean, like, he took the Lost model and kept like applying it to other properties. And then he turned Star Trek into an Apple commercial. You know what I mean? Like, I hate to be so derisive of him because I actually have enjoyed a lot of the Bad Robot productions. And I actually really liked Episode 7. I thought he did a great job resurrecting the Star Wars franchise to its original form, like back to true form Star Wars.
Yeah.
I would like to see a different director do all 3 parts, because we got Rian Johnson doing the second part, and apparently Disney's having like a control freak issue with whoever is going to direct according to their plan and vision for Star Wars. So it's like, you know, we've already talked about how John Carpenter has that kind of control aspect to him as well. So there's clearly something to be said for that, but not when it's this monolith fucking, you know, agency known as Disney, saying we're going to make 20 of these movies, so they have to go like this. It's like, fuck you, dude. Let these people do cool shit with it.
Yeah, but the money they're making off of Star Wars is going to buy them the X-Men and Fantastic Four rights back, so fuck it.
Yeah, I just saw that article today too. I'll take it. Now, let John Carpenter do an X-Men movie, man. Bring fucking Hugh Jackman back and let him do a fucking Logan-heavy X-Men movie.
I could do like another old man Logan style, but have Kurt Russell play Logan.
Oh, shit. Well, no, Kurt Russell could play. Who would you play? Like, I think Kurt Russell playing Bishop, if Bishop wasn't a black guy, would have been awesome. Like, just that, like, sort of.
Yeah. You could always do it Robert Downey Jr. style.
Yeah, I was saying we could totally Tropic Thunder this, right?
What do you mean, you people?
What do you mean, you people? I'm the dude playing the dude pretending to be another guy. I know who the fuck I am.
Why are you still in character? I don't know. I'm confused.
Oh, shit. I mean, whatever. I would just like to see him do something else, because, you know.
I would like to see him given $7 to $12 million and see what he does with it. Because when he had made The Ward, I think he made it for, well, it looks like he made it for like a fucking couple of bags of Skittles.
Jesus. It's like I keep going back and forth about whether or not I want to watch this after you guys talk about it. I'm like, my God, it's
like Drew said, the setup feels like John Carpenter film, but then once you get into the meat of it, it's like, I don't know, like what? He saw Paranormal Activity and was like, I want to try something like that. Like, it didn't really actually end up feeling like a Carpenter film.
It's like he fell asleep during the actual recording of it.
Oh, shit. Wow.
Wait, that was good.
Oh, my God. Like a total fucking comedy movie. Holy shit. Well, he's now like, what's his level of involvement with the new Halloween that Danny McBride wrote that is coming out?
I think he's just getting credit for creating characters.
He's getting credit for the characters, the music, which he apparently is revamping the score or updating the score. And beyond that, he's just getting paid a big paycheck to say it's good.
But well, yeah, I would say, wasn't he like very against it at first, and now he's kind of come full circle?
Yeah, it's funny what paycheck will do.
Yeah, I guess. So.
Yeah, money talks.
But also, yeah, I think that maybe is what brought him around too, right? Because she had famously said after that 8th one that she's like, I want the character dead, so I don't have to fucking do this anymore. You know what I mean? Like,
and then the best thing she had for like the last 5 years was guest appearing on fucking NCIS, and she's like, I'll play Laurie Strode again.
Freaky Friday.
She did an episode or 2 of The New Girl as what's her name's mom.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But it was terrible. Like, I was just like, oh, for fuck's sake, retire. Come on, stop doing shit like this. But I always wanted more Big Trouble Little China because I wanted more of those characters. You know what I mean? And so, like, when I hear that they're going to reboot it with The Rock, I'm like, all right, well, clearly that makes sense. But make the sequel, bring fucking Kurt Russell back, bring James Hong back to life, have David Lopan still be alive. Because that fucking guy, I met him in 2012. He's awesome. And he was like really, he's a guy who started out designing sewers he was a city planner in LA. He was designing where the storm drains were going to go in the sidewalks on the streets as they were developing neighborhoods. And he just went on an audition one day and got into making movies. So this is a fucking guy who was just a normie like us, and he crossed over. And then he got to play fucking Lopan. Like, I walked by him at this convention and I went like this. I was like, holy shit. And he like did it back. And I'm like, all right, we got to fucking talk to this guy later. And it was just awesome. And John Carpenter was actually at a convention at a hotel across the street. So when we asked him about John Carpenter, he's like, yeah, he betrayed us. He's over there. He didn't come to this show. Fuck him. And I was like, whoa, oh, that's awesome. He didn't actually say fuck him. I just added that for embellishment, but he definitely made fun of John Carpenter.
Were you being serious when you said The Rock is going to be in the reboot for
He's Jack Burton.
That's not 100%
God
a
damn.
go because
Allegedly, he's Jack Burton.
produced through his company.
Is it bad enough he's doing Jumanji? Like, can he just not touch
Have
these
you seen the
classics?
trailer for Jumanji?
He has to do every franchise.
So that he can run for president in 2020.
He needs the cash.
He's
Oh,
got to build the
fuck.
war chest, man. He's got to build
Is
the
Kevin
fucking
Hart
political.
co-starring in it too?
He's got to have Tooth Fairy 5 coming out soon as well. Oh, well, the fuck that's up.
Wow. I will say I recently saw the trailer for Jumanji, and I'm willing to go watch it once. It looks pretty fucking cool.
Is it the same story? Or are they trying to do something different with it?
It's a video game now, and they get pulled into a video game, and they actually go to this other place, and they're kids when they pick their characters, and when they get to the place, the one of them who's like the nerd is the fucking rock character. He's like, holy fuck, I'm big. Like it has an edge to it that I'm suddenly like, oh.
So they took the sequence out of the cartoon Heavy Metal, and now that's rock in Jumanji.
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit. Good call. That was a cool movie in parts. Heavy Metal. Why the fuck haven't they remade that?
Oh, yeah. I wish, honestly, I just wish they'd stop. I mean, I walked out of the theater, and I don't go very often. I mean, we went and saw it, so I don't go in very often. But walking out, and I looked around the lobby, and I thought I'd gone into some sort of time warp because it was all movies that I had seen over the last 40 years. And those weren't good. Remaking all these crappy movies. Do they think if they do it a second time, it will magically not suck? I mean, it just that's all the
nostalgia tickets.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. I remember being young watching movies and thinking that the one I was watching was the first one, and my parents going, oh no, that's a remake. And I'm like, oh fuck it, I don't want to watch the old one. You know, I'm already in love with this one. It's weird to be past that and seeing the other side of it now, going, why the fuck are they remaking this? Like, why the fuck?
Well, The Thing was a remake, obviously.
I know, which is crazy.
I mean, every once in a while, a remake can come along and it can do something good. But I mean, when that's all the choices that you were seeing, I mean, I lived through the 80s. I don't need to be there again.
But it's, I mean, I don't know. I think there's something for updating stuff. You know what I mean? Like I saw a string on Facebook yesterday where a friend had mentioned his wife had never seen The Fifth Element, so they were watching The Fifth Element, and he was super excited to show it to her, and everybody was like, all the comments were like, oh, that's fucking awesome. And then once it was over, he's like, all right, she hated it. And to be honest, it really didn't hold up over the years. I'm suddenly wondering why I thought this was so good. And then all of a sudden this fucking hate wave happened where everyone's like, oh yeah, man, that movie fucking blows. And I just wrote, this whole string is blasphemous, because I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you guys? This shit was great. I mean, it has the datedness feeling to it. And so I could see that maybe effect happening with a lot of stuff, especially the movies we've talked about tonight. And feeling the need to, like, let's make this approachable for a new audience, because at some point us old heads are supposedly going to age out and not want to fucking do anything except sit around and eat pudding and play fucking canaster. So, or like, they're going to fucking milk us for all that they can now. And then they need to be able to milk our kids. And at least we'll be able to say, oh yeah, that first one was so good. Go see that. I'm sure that'll be great. You know what I mean? I can kind of see it, but I wish that there would be something done. And I think when I saw this Jumanji trailer, I felt like, all right, this is kind of at least making an effort, you know? So,
well, the remakes are always better. You just got to look at Ghostbusters.
Fucking Rob Zombie, man. Fucking one-trick pony piece of shit. I mean, I feel like Devil's Rejects is a lucky fluke in the middle of all of that. You know what I mean? That Halloween was just total shit. Like, and I guess they recently, John Carpenter and him recently dropped their fucking hate again that they had at each other, which to me in my mind is mostly John Carpenter forgiving Rob Zombie, like, all right, fucker, I get what you did. I'll fucking chill, but you should probably sit over there. Like, let's not sit that close to each other.
You go sit next to Eli Roth and all the other
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah.
pretenders.
Yeah. There's going to be a cabin fever reunion at this
I would quite
convention.
like to interview Rob Zombie, just so I could sit the whole time like this and not actually talk to him and see how long before he'd hang up.
All right, if you're just going to fucking sit there and give me the finger, man, I'm out of here. Thanks a lot for this.
Like, it almost happened with Hugh Ball.
Whoa,
I
you
got so
interviewed Uwe
close.
Boll?
I got so close to interviewing him. We had a
Oh,
Skype call and everything, but he didn't have the U balls to come on.
allegedly. Well, did you say we're going to talk about Postal, dude? We're going to talk about Postal a lot.
No, basically, I said I want to give him the opportunity to tell people why he made such shit films. That's what I said.
Were you directly responding to his YouTube rant about all the petitions that were being posted for, like, please stop Uwe Boll from making any more movies? And he's like, I'm gonna start a petition for who wants me to still make the movies, and it got like it only got like 2,000 signatures, because the other one had hundreds of thousands of people. I was like, dude, you just literally opened yourself up to the worst ass raping ever by the internet. It's kind of like our president every fucking day.
He also said he was going to fight me, but that
Damn.
Terrifying.
Wow, man. Yeah. a lot of threats being thrown around these days.
Yeah, everybody seems to want to fight me nowadays for some reason.
Since that solves everything.
Yeah, best and, well, I don't know if this is supposed to be what was John Carpenter's best worst film, or what is John Carpenter's best and worst film. So you can take it either way you want. This was a question I was asked.
Oh shit!
I'll go with the best worst film, and for me it was Escape from Los Angeles, because they should have just called it Escape from New York
again.
Yeah. I mean, because it was. I mean, they just like you said, they put it in a different city, and that was really all it was. But it reminded me and made me actually go back and watch Escape from New York again, because it had been so long since I saw it, and remember, oh yeah, that was really cool when it came out.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a real deep cool factor once I was able to get past seeing Kurt Russell with a beard and not wearing tennis and board shorts. It was. There was no reason for that movie to have been made, other than, I guess, apparently that was the only one he could make at the time. So I think that would have to be my vote getter.
I would piggyback off that. It's like when Motley Crue did Shout at the Devil '96 or something like that. It's just they re-recorded something in a different decade. That's what they did with Escape from LA.
That was on that fucking Generation Swine, dude. I had that tape.
Yeah, that's an abysmal record.
I just wanted it for Afraid.
It's like fucking Billy Joel brings a greatest hits album out every 5 years, and it's the same fucking songs, just in a different order.
Yeah. He's busy drunk driving through living rooms.
Oh my god. Allegedly.
That's not even alleged, though. He was charged on that.
So now we're just reporting the news. Best worst one, I think probably in my mind is Prince of Darkness. Ghosts of Mars is pretty fucking bad. I just it wasn't even fun. Like, I remember in the era where I was like the only one who had DVDs and I was buying them constantly, I would always pick that one up and be like, put it right back down. Ghosts of Mars it sucks. It's pretty bad. It's like, if you catch it on cable, maybe watch it, but that's one I just pretend doesn't exist, as opposed to all the ones I keep forgetting that John Carpenter directed. I'm like, oh fuck, man, Invisible Man, Invisible fucking Man. Ugh.
Invisible Fletch is pretty good.
That's kind of what it was, yeah. To Elvis. Daryl Hannah was in it.
Yep. I think everyone wants you to say Halloween because it's obviously the biggest hit he had, but I've always thought it's either between The Thing or Escape from New York is his best film. And Escape from New York slightly edges it because I think well, basically because I saw it first, and it was one of those that's cool. I want to be that guy type movies. I saw. I was like, yeah, that'll be it. So that's best one for me. Worst is The Ward, or that's probably it. Fuck it, that movie just it like sucks all your fucking energy out of you.
I was gonna say best, worst because it's the worst film he's made, and best because you get to look at Amber Heard the whole time.
Wow, nice.
That's the only positive you can possibly take away from that film.
See, like that's how I feel about Kim Cattrall. All right, so that's why Big Trouble in Little China, that was in the hotness of Cattrall era. It was like, all right, dude, you know what? Like, in fact, and it's an odd movie because the hero doesn't even get the girl at the end. The hero basically doesn't get shit. He just gets his truck back and gets to leave. But
right, his truck is his girl in that one.
Yeah, the Pork Chop Express, man. I gotta tell you, obviously. There was something that resonated with him just talking into that CB, not even giving a fuck whether anybody's listening or not. And I mean, that's got to be partly why I podcast now. You know what I mean? It definitely plays in. He was one of my first like lexicon of cools, you know, like Jack Burton was a cool dude because Egg Shen is telling them, you leave Jack Burton alone in the beginning of that movie. And then he fucking does the lightning. And I'm like, yo, Jack Burton's friends with cool people. And then he just zips right back out. Once the shit's done, he's like, all right, you handle the cops, I'm getting the fuck out of here. I'm moving on to the next. So yeah, Big Trouble is definitely always in my mind my favorite, but In the Mouth of Madness is a very close second just because of the cool factor of when I saw it, and it scared the piss out of me. I didn't sleep that night I saw that movie in the theaters.
Yeah. If I had to get my favorite, it would be The Thing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a wasted moment in that movie.
Kurt Russell's in all of these.
yeah.
He's in all the best ones. Maybe that's it. The winning combo, you know, when you have the right director and their star, like the way Quentin Tarantino has Uma Thurman, and then now all this whole bevy of new people. But, you know, it's like whenever Carpenter and fucking Russell were working together, some shit was going to be awesome.
That's why he directed Soldier.
Which wasn't a horrible movie, though. I actually thought it was kind of cool.
Froze there for a second. Yeah, that was the shock of you saying that wasn't a bad movie.
I was like, wow, I actually stopped the show. The internet put the brakes on. Like, wait, what did you just say? Like, there was a movie where Michael Chiklis that wasn't horrible. What?
I think it's impressive. I mean, the guy who did Halloween, like that's not even his best film. That's a pretty good career.
Yeah,
but that's his legend film. That's the film that made him a legend.
Right.
So it's been an absolute pleasure as always to hang out with you. Have you got anything you want to pimp to the audience at the end of the show?
I don't think so. I think I'll just keep doing a Dave and turning on a mic and talking to nobody every week. Which seems to be my favorite thing to do.
My new book,
Sandwich Express over there. Oh, that's funny, man. Well, you can hear him doing that a lot of the time over at the Hollow 9 Network with me because he's been guesting on a whole bunch of stuff lately, and I think we just released, all of them. I think Logan is the only one that hasn't come out yet, but yeah, man, Hollow 9 Network, check us out. We have a lot of shit going on. Everybody's gonna be a part of it at some point. Just you watch.
And I'll just tag my nobody's listening, but come on over to Ranting Podcast and check us out.
Hi, we all suck. How's it going?
We like to have fun. That's all I can guarantee.
It's all good.
And my new book comes out tomorrow. So
holy shit, man!
Nice.
Talk about a happy birthday, bro. That's awesome.
Dead Snapshot Las Vegas comes out tomorrow, and I get to sit back and wait because I took an entirely different tack writing this, and so it's either going to do well or it's just going to piss everybody off. And so it's just one of those things. I wrote it for myself, and if it came out the way that it does in my head, people are going to dig it. I wrote it from a bad guy's point of view, basically. If you got to take, it came from the idea of if you took The Walking Dead from Negan's side of the story, you might hate Rick instead. And I basically took this guy and yeah, there's a lot of indicators where you go, yeah, this is really not a good person. But then you see some of his mindset for why he decides to do the things he does. And you go, well, I guess that makes sense. And then so it's sort of you're looking through the bad guy's eyes, and you're going to still hate him, but maybe you'll at least get why he's doing what he's doing, sort of thing. So we'll see how it played out on paper.
Where can we find this awesome sounding book, man?
It's all over Amazon, man. I've pretty much pulled off of all the other platforms, just to try and experiment for a while and see if I focused all my attention on just one. And so far, marketing wise, it seems to be paying off.
Nice. What was the title again?
Dead Snapshot Las Vegas. It's a standalone book set in the same world that the 12-book Dead series takes place.
Hell yeah.
And actually, this storyline will come into play. The new Dead series that I am working on book 3 right now for, these characters that you're meeting in Vegas, they're going to end up showing up in the new Dead series at about book 5. So
Awesome.
Sweet, man. That sounds cool.
Yeah, that's incredible.
It'll be fun.
So it's been absolute pleasure as always. I'd like to thank you all for coming on the show.
Yeah,
thanks for having us, man. This is always a lot of fun. I feel like we've been invading your space a lot lately, so thanks for continuing to indulge us.
I think at this point, you're the only ones I've not offended.
Yeah, some of us have thicker skin, man. Some of us aren't pretending to be shit we're not.
Some of us don't have bloated egos.
Speak for
Some
yourself.
of us do, but keep them in check.
Some of us did, but then they fell off of a ladder, and it's being watched on YouTube by thousands of people, so they're not nearly as cocky as they used to be.
Insert clip here.
All right, we're about to get a little more difficult.
Oh my god. If anyone else was picking up on that editing beat, congratulations. You've just graduated 101. Oh shit.
Right.
I do bounce.